Hey gang, I wanted to add this note at the very beginning of the video briefly saying I didn't go through and edit this very well, and I can't remember if there were times where I paused for a long time and then wanted to edit out that pause. So if you see something or if there's a situation where I'm like, staring around for a little while and then I go like this and then I start talking again, I'm not necessarily going crazy. I do that to help locate situations where I want to put an edit and take out a bit if I've stopped talking for a while. But I wanted to just provide this little footnote in there in case there's something very awkward like that in this video. Cool, thanks. Hey there, classes. I want to provide a video instruction in addition to the written instructions you'll find on Moodle on this evaluate a claim assignment, okay? Basically, for this, I will be giving you a claim that you'll want to go and research and provide me information on the claim, on the topic, and then tell me if the claim is true or not true, or somewhere in between. All right. On that part, an important thing about sort of political science, social science research is lots of times the world is extremely complex and we might not have all the information. We might not, well, both, I guess, have all the information and be able to put so one of the difficulties with social science or political science research is that the world is very complex and it's not like a laboratory where we can do controlled experiments on whether or not something works or not. There are always different variables to various situations. So sometimes we can't say this claim is true. Sometimes we have to say this is most likely the case. Or, most of the evidence thus far points to this direction. Okay, so the first claim you'll be looking at, and I'll give you some hints and things like that about what you might look for, is a claim raising the minimum wage will increase unemployment, make it so businesses are laying off people, and hurt the economy. Okay, so, raising the minimum wage will lead to increased unemployment, businesses laying off people, and hurt the economy. Again, make sure when you read it or when you hear it, you recognize it's increased unemployment, not increased employment. Sometimes the positive with the negative can confuse. Anyway, more people will not have work and it'll hurt the economy. That's the claim, okay, that I want you to evaluate. To evaluate it, provide me information on it, I want you to do, there are going to be a couple different parts to the assignment, okay? Part one, I want you to provide general information on who makes the claim and what the other side claims on that same issue. So, and when I say which side or who, Democrats or Republicans? Do Republicans say raising the minimum wage will lead to increased unemployment, businesses laying off people, and hurt the economy? Or do Democrats say that? Who sort of generally makes that claim? The second part to this is, what does the other side say? So on these issues, both sides aren't going to say the same thing. Again, in general, you always find a Republican that agrees with Democrats and Democrats that agree with Republicans, but in general, we have the dichotomy there. What does the other side say on raising the minimum wage? An important thing to keep in mind here is that whatever the other side says might not be the direct equal and opposite of the other side's claim. So if Republicans say raising the minimum wage will lead to increased unemployment and hurt the economy, the Democrats' claim doesn't have to be or might not be raising the minimum wage will increase employment, make businesses hire more people, and help the economy. The Democrats' claim could be raising the minimum wage will not affect employment and help the economy, or will not affect the employment but hurt the economy. Or they might say there will be a short-term negative effect on unemployment, so more unemployment. However, long-term, it'll help the economy and increase employment. There are lots of different things that could be said on there, so don't just assume that if one side says it will hurts the economy and increases unemployment, the other side must say it increases employment and helps the economy. Okay? So that's the first part. Don't spend a lot of time on that part. Give me a couple bullet points, a couple sentences, just a very brief sort of like, this is what the sides say. I should also say, I guess, pause for a second on this assignment. The evaluated claim assignment is not a flowing essay assignment necessarily. I think the last two parts maybe lend themselves more to an essay format. The first two parts, I think maybe you could use a bullet point format. So, you know, Republicans are the ones that say increased unemployment and hurt the economy. Democrats' claim is that raising the minimum wage will increase wages for people and help the economy. Could be something as simple as that. Might be a couple extra points, but don't get too bogged down. Tea, yum. Next thing I want you to do, part 2, discuss a little bit about what the claim means, how you're interpreting the claim. Raising the minimum wage will lead to increased unemployment and hurt the economy. What are we saying? What do we mean when we say that? Are we saying the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour? Are we saying if we go to $7.26 an hour, it'll hurt the economy? Or are we talking about something else? We're probably not talking about $7.26 an hour, right? That's not something anybody's proposing. That probably wouldn't have any effect on employment and the economy. So to argue a 1 cent increase position won't help us or anybody. We're probably also not arguing for a $1,000 an hour minimum wage. While a 1 cent increase in the minimum wage could have one effect on economic growth, a $1,000 an hour minimum wage could have another effect on economic growth. It could, like, throw the economy into a tailspin and people wouldn't know how to deal with it. For example, we could have a situation where some people are arguing for a $1 increase, some people are arguing for a $7 increase, some people are arguing for a $5. That could, you know, maybe the $1 doesn't affect the economy, but the $7 does, or maybe the, you know, $1 has one effect and the $7 has another effect, something like that. What you'll want to do is sort of clarify what we're looking at or what the options are when we make this claim. Raising the minimum wage will increase unemployment, businesses laying off people, and hurt the economy. Okay? So, what are we talking about? What does that mean? That's part 2. And we need that part because when we go into part 3, we're actually starting to evaluate the claim, and we can't sort of tell if the claim is true or false if we don't know what we're talking about or if we're not talking about the same thing. All right, so part 3, I want you to research, find specific facts, specific information, specific history on the claim and what that information tells us, or what that information is, or how we can interpret it with the claim. All right. So you may look back in time. We've had increases in the minimum wage. What has been the effect of the increase in minimum wage on the economy in the short term and long term? You know, we can say, look, the minimum wage increased here in this year. Was there unemployment? Was there not more unemployment? Maybe was there some unemployment, but the economy then shot up afterwards? You know, we can look at least to some degree what's happening there. Now, it's entirely possible also that there could be situations where the minimum wage was increased, and let's say there was a big drop in unemployment, but it may not have been the increase in the minimum wage that caused it. There could have been some other variable that overwhelmed the effect that the increase in the minimum wage had on the economy. But you'll have to sort through some of that complicated stuff when you make the claim, or when you look at the claim. Here's what I don't want when you're evaluating the claim, gathering specific information. I don't want something like, you know, Hillary Clinton said, we need to raise the minimum wage because families are hurting and we want to make families stronger and better. That doesn't tell me anything. That's a nonsense statement. Well, it's not really a nonsense statement, but it's a statement with no real information. She's just saying something, but just because she says it doesn't mean it's true. She is Hillary Clinton. She is a very powerful and smart and respected person in the world. She is running for the President of the United States, so she probably does know a lot of things. But that doesn't necessarily mean you always have to take her word for it. So you want to, keep that in mind. I don't want to see anybody say, evidence for this claim is Hillary Clinton said it'll help families. Well, why does she think it'll help families? Give me specific information. Diving a little deeper into the specific information, I need and I want specific historical evidence, and statistics are very cool. So, what did the minimum wage go from? It was increased, let's say, I can't remember, 96 maybe. I don't know what it went from. Maybe it went from $3.25 an hour to $5.25 an hour or something. What was the specific increase in the minimum wage? And then, what specifically happened to unemployment afterwards? Did we lose 10,000 jobs? Did we lose 500,000 jobs? Did we gain 1 million jobs? Over what time frame did that happen? I want that specific research, okay? Not general claims, but numbers. Give me facts, hard numbers, okay? I talked about how a claim may not be proven. You can just say the evidence points one way or the other. Okay, this part you'll want to spend more time on. The first two parts, don't spend a lot of time on it, just get some information out there. Spend more time on this part, and then spend more time on part 4. These are the meat of your assignment. Tell me, is the claim true or not? So in part 3, you get all the information, you get the facts together. Part 4, you tell me how we should interpret the facts against the claim and how we should then evaluate that claim. There might be, 5 pieces of information that support the claim. However, they might not strongly support the claim. And you could say, listen, information A, B, C, D, and E suggests the claim is real or true or whatever. However, there are too many other variables that we can't really account for what the true effect was. Or it might be pretty clear, or it might be almost clear as to what the claim, if the claim is true or not. There could also be this scenario. The claim, the minimum wage decreases, the claim the minimum wage increases unemployment in businesses laying off people and hurts the economy. That claim may not be true. However, that does not mean that either one, whatever the Democrats are claiming is true, or two, the exact opposite is true. Right? So just because it doesn't hurt the economy doesn't mean it helps the economy. Just because it doesn't increase unemployment doesn't mean it increases employment or decreases unemployment. So look at it that way. I want you to look at the evidence, look at the facts, evaluate the information, and tell me if you think the claim is true or not true or anywhere in between. How do you see the claim? Be persuasive. Tell me why or why not. Justify it. Is it accurate? Is it not? All right. Those are the 4 parts. There's instructions and maybe additional examples or something like that you can find on Moodle. Here's something else I want you to do, or the way I want you to approach it. Okay, so I think I might have said you'll have 2 claims in 3 hours time limit to evaluate the claims, provide me some information and evidence. Maybe I didn't say that. Anyway, you got a 3-hour time limit. The time limit is not necessarily there to put you under pressure, but it's there to make sure you don't spend 15 hours doing this. This isn't supposed to be a very, time-intensive assignment. Certainly, I feel like it's kind of an intensive assignment, and it'll hopefully challenge you to find information on some of the topics of the day and see if certain things are true or not. But it's not meant to be an essay. It's not meant to be a 15-page paper. It's I'm giving you a claim. I'm giving you some, something. I want you to go out and research it, give me information back, and tell me whether or not you think it's true or not. Can that make sense? Don't, spend too much time on it. The other thing is, if you get information from an academic journal, you'll get an extra 10% on your grade. So go onto that GTCC library, peer-reviewed journal thing, read some stuff, provide me some information from that stuff. There's an extra 10%. Here's what I want you to do in terms of sources and citations. I don't want you to spend a lot of time trying to do citations and sources right. Don't worry about in-text citations. I don't care. It'll just distract time away from you actually learning and doing the assignment. What I do want you to do is at the bottom of the sort of, Moodle essay box, provide a little bit of information on where you got your facts from. So a URL might be good. Copy and paste a URL in there about where you got some information. The title of an article and where the article came from would also be good. Something that allows me to be able to find the source. Okay, don't worry about putting it in any specific style or something like that. Again, you could spend an hour on that and not spend enough time on what I want you to be spending time on. So pretty very informal citation, things like that. Don't quote anything. There's no reason to quote anything. Just sort of give the information, evaluate the information, and tell me how that affects, whether or not we should believe the claim. And I guess finally, I hope a couple of hints or things you could research or look for where you could find information. You got your think tanks, you got your academic sources, you got your, let's say, like newspaper research. You can also, though, look at two sources here that are good: Congressional Research Service and Congressional Budget Office. If you were to say Google Congressional Research Service minimum wage, you might find that the Congressional Research Service has written a very good paper on the minimum wage and the history of the minimum wage that might give you some very good information for your essay. There might be something in there: Congressional Budget Office, increased minimum wage, or minimum wage. Every claim I provide you, there might not be an article from the Congressional Research Service, but those are, or the Congressional Budget Office, but those are pretty good sources you can go to that provide you good information. Another part of this, I guess, is also to make sure you filter out bunk information. So you could go online and find information on increasing the minimum wage and the effect that does, but a lot of it's going to be information from, how do I put this? Dumb people. Okay? Don't, look at where the information comes from and evaluate it. Make sure you're being intelligent about it. Make sure when you look up the source and you're evaluating the source, see how maybe partisan it is, and sort of take the information with that grain of salt. Just because it is partisan doesn't necessarily mean it's not true. Lots of times partisan people can be factually accurate. But keep in mind where the information is coming from. If there's a piece of information that just seems like it's nuts, that it's completely out of left field, that there's no way it could possibly be true, just because you read on the internet, don't then say, well, it must be true. There it is. Instead, look into it. Oh, one other real good way to find information, to evaluate sources and things like that, is let's say you find a paper that says minimum wage increases unemployment by, Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. Department of UC Berkeley, May 19th, 2014. One thing you may then do, read the information, Google it, find the paper, read what's in the paper. Then you could Google critiques of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen's increasing minimum wage. Lots of times you'll find your counter arguments there that will allow you to better evaluate the claim. So that's another cool trick, all right? So Congressional Research Service, and then the topic of the claim, or Congressional Budget Office, topic of the claim. Your academic journals, which will get you an extra 10% if you make sure you cite one and take information out of it. When you find a source or some information, then Googling if there are critiques of that information or of that source, that's good. Let's say you find something from WorldNet Daily. So, a website. I don't know if some of you know it, some of you don't know it. Say there's an article on WorldNet Daily that tells you some stuff. You might then go say, is the WorldNet Daily accurate? Should I believe anything from there? And you'll find that you should not. Maybe, when you're evaluating a claim also, and you have a source, say it is WorldNet Daily, and it seems like there's good information, you could then go to the home page and see what other stories there are, and if you find stories about how, Obama was really born in Kenya to a zombie Nazi from the moon, you'll know that that other article might not be good. Okay? Does that make sense? Again, you got a time limit. It's not meant to be something to pressure you or to make you go fast. It's more there to make you not spend a million hours on it. Don't rely too much on one source. It's another thing. Make sure you have a diversity of sources there. And if I see anything that says Wikipedia or Britannica Encyclopedia, I'm going to be mad, furious, erg. So don't do that. Okay, I hope that helps. You'll have, again, information on the Moodle page. It'll be there before you go into the question or before you go into the quiz, and then in there, this is a decent part of your 5 points of your final grade. We'll have a couple of these types of assignments. So this first one, we'll have 3 hours to do it, and you'll have 2 claims. One of them already will be raising the minimum wage will increase unemployment, lead to business laying off people and hurting the economy. You can do a little bit of research on that before you go into it. There's another claim on there. I don't, again, want you to spend 5 hours beforehand researching it. Just get in there, do your best, make sure you have all the information there and it's clear. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a clear essay format. Okay, cool. Hope that helps. Thank you. And this assignment is what we'll be doing for the next week. It'll be due Sunday, April 10th by 11 p.m. The next week we'll have another assignment like this and also a truncated chapter to look at. Like I'll have you read a chapter but only have a few questions from it, maybe tell you to focus in on a few pages. Okay, cool. Thanks. Have fun. You have my email.